It seems like every year we get to a point where traction control becomes a rumor, and 2024 is no different. We'll talk about it today, including how it works, where it can be hidden, and why it might matter in sprint car racing right now, plus a developing situation around it in Australia. Let's go. It's Monday, October 21st. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. If you're a Kubota equipment owner now or plan to be in the future, then you're going to need the myKubota app. It's an essential tool for managing your equipment efficiently and effectively. With real-time monitoring, maintenance reminders, and diagnostic alerts, myKubota streamlines operations and helps you prevent breakdowns. You can also access helpful Kubota resources such as maintenance schedules and manuals. You can investigate fault codes, get help with step-by-step guides, and watch video resources to get the most out of your Kubota machine. And if you need parts or service, you can quickly locate the nearest dealer to your current location. Doesn't matter whether you're doing construction, you run a big agricultural operation, or you use Kubota machines around your home. Take control of your equipment and streamline your workflow today with myKubota. Download the app now and experience the difference. You can find the app in the Google Play or Apple App Stores. You can click the links below in the video description on YouTube, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. I keep a running list of daily show topics going kind of all of the time, and one of the items that has been on it for the last few weeks is traction control. Because of the nature of what I do here with the show, and as we've discussed before, I get sent all sorts of rumors and tips pretty regularly. And as the show has grown, so has the volume of these messages. Some are just really outlandish, but often there is good information in them. One I got sent a few weeks ago said that there might be issues going on between the two big sprint car series, obviously the World of Outlaws and High Limit, about traction control. Meaning the two sides were actively searching for systems being used right now, and that maybe cooperation was happening between the two sets of officials in the process to try to weed it out. After that message, I asked around a bunch, heard a few things were maybe rumored, but nothing that really felt solid. An MSD box here or there was sent out after some races, some teams and drivers were rumored to be using them, but nothing really worth running with on the show. Even some friends on the officiating side of dirt racing were pretty coy when I inquired. The issue of traction control isn't a topic I've really breached in any meaningful way on the show throughout the entire history. Today is, I think, episode 1191. And that's even though some of my most viewed videos are related to cheating in the sport. For example, that tire doping video is my most viewed video in the history of the show. There have certainly been points over the past few years where I've mentioned it in relation to sweeps that were happening, but we haven't had a real scandal with it or had anyone busted with it at a high level. Recent examples of sweeps and people looking for it included at the Chili Bowl earlier this year. We documented officials there swapping out receivers to avoid two-way communication, but they were also checking for devices those nights. There was a situation in the past few seasons where Eldora officials had late model teams disconnect the tacks on their race cars in the lead up to the feature at a crown jewel race, the idea being that those tacks could have held traction control devices. And after the Northern Sprint Car Nationals in 2023 up at Oshuikin, winner Mike Bowman was protested, but both his MSD box and Sam Haferteep's came back clean after checks. Under certain circumstances, traction control could be valuable in dirt racing, especially on slicker racetracks. There's obviously going to be situations where it doesn't work and isn't necessary, but these types of systems are illegal. But they work by detecting rapid changes in engine RPMs, which are equated to wheel spin, and the ignition settings are changed on the fly to equate for those rises in RPM. There are a few companies that make little Bluetooth versions that are wired into ignition boxes and can be controlled from outside the car. These systems are actually self-learning. You don't really even need to program them. But then there are, I should have said this. This is what those, or over here, this is what those devices look like, the Bluetooth versions. Anyway, there are also other devices that avoid the ignition system altogether and instead use GPS and other sensors to compare wheel spin and then apply the brakes to control it. Limiting wheel spin could obviously have all sorts of benefits, and there are likely a few tenths to be found in lap time. And I know that might not sound like a lot, but as tight as fields have become, a few tenths a lap could be a really big deal, especially over the course of a 25 or 30 or 35 lap main event. But as I said before, despite the fairly regular rumors regarding them, if anyone has been caught with one in recent years, we certainly haven't had it be public knowledge. There's always going to be these situations where it's like, oh, they got caught, but it got swept under the rug. I don't know if any of those things are true. I also don't know how often High Limit and the Outlaws do checks for traction control, but it did become a pretty regular occurrence with the All-Stars for the top 3 after races to have their MSD boxes looked through. There was also talk several years back that traction control devices could be jammed or interfered with some way using fish finders. I have no idea if that's true or not, but it was certainly a topic of social media, at least for a little while. Both the Sprint Car Series rulebooks, meaning the Outlaws and High Limit, say explicitly that systems are not permitted at any time, and that inspections are random and that parts and pieces could be impounded. That includes ignition systems and boxes, wiring looms, and tacks. The one thing that makes me wonder about using them right now, though, is with the removal of the inch off the wicker bills as series try and unhook the cars to create better racing. We'll leave the jury out on that, whether that's working or not. But this could potentially be a way for teams to regain some of that lost grip. Would obviously be a significant risk, as anyone caught with it would have the hammer dropped on them, but it wouldn't be the first time a team did something like that, as in cheated in a really blatant way. Down under in Australia, there's also a brewing traction control situation, and I'd keep an eye on Toby Balboa's Sprint Car Hub. Supposedly, the governing body down there has some sort of counter device that was used on some cars this weekend, and it sounds like teams are not happy about it. Callum Williamson's team shared to Facebook that they were one of the cars used in this trial and that the traction control detector device detuned their engine in the heat race and actually caused damage. Toby is putting together a video on the topic, which will include a bunch of research and conversations, so stay tuned for that. But how prevalent traction control device usage is, I don't really know. Some will say it's more than we realize, while others will say it really isn't. But I have a hard time believing nobody is using it, as those companies wouldn't be making and advertising the systems and having booths at PRI if they weren't making money with them. One racetrack update for you today. If you are a regular attendee at Kokomo Speedway in Indiana, you'll have new grandstands to sit on next season. The track posted to social media yesterday before and after photos of the demolition of those front stretch bleachers. This will also mean a fresh tower building as well. The tower was on top of those bleachers. It's also gone. It's always good to see tracks making updates and upgrades, so hat tip to them on the improvements. I will say, if you guys notice other racetracks doing stuff like this, making improvements, things like that, tag me in them on social media so we can make sure to spotlight them. We've spent entirely way too much time lately talking about bad news for our racetracks. We should talk about some good news for racetracks as well. That's the Daily Show for today. Just a quick reminder, if you'd rather read these shows every day, or if you know someone that is hard of hearing, full Daily Show transcripts are posted over at DIRTRACKR.com/daily. That's DIRTRACKR. I started doing this in 2021, and it's just another way to make the shows as accessible as possible. So you can watch on YouTube and Facebook, you can listen at podcast places, and you can listen and read at DIRTRACKR.com/daily. I usually write between 1,300 and 2,000 words a day, so I might as well make them available to you guys. I hope you have a great Monday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.